I recently learned about this and it's changed my life. Like, it makes so much sense. How did I not think about this earlier? Now I understand why, even though I've watched like 80 plus Korean dramas, I didn't really get any Korean from them. Like, I didn't learn any Korean from watching Korean dramas. None whatsoever. Learning grammar is boring. Learning with movies is fun. And comprehensible input, which is what I teach Spanish with comprehensible input, it's all about fun. And it is also about understanding messages in your target language. When you're watching a movie whose ideal audience are the native speakers of the language the movie was made in, how are you gonna understand anything without subtitles in that target language that you're trying to learn? It's made for natives, so how are you, a beginner, an intermediate learner, how are you gonna understand that? Sure, you can watch Caillou, which is technically made for native speakers in the making, right? It's made for babies and for kids, but it's not the most entertaining thing to watch, right? It's not the most fun thing to watch. So if we were to learn with things that were made more for like an adult audience, how would you do that? How can you make a movie that was made for a native speaker understandable to a beginner, to an intermediate learner? Well, the answer is you cut it up. You make it shorter. It's so easy, so simple. But when I read about it, I was like, how didn't I think about this any sooner? You see, I'm an English major and I did my final dissertation on comprehensible input, and therefore I had to read a lot on comprehensible input. And so I recently read this book called The Natural Approach by Krashen and Terrell. Recommend that read, especially for teachers who are looking for resources. It's very good. And so I reached a magical section of the book, a section that said, how can you learn a language with movies? And I read that and my whole perspective changed, and that's what I'm going to share with you. You see, the world we live in right now, it's full of resources in so many languages, right? We have so many resources in different languages accessible, but how can we make the most out of them? Well, I just told you, you cut them up or you watch something that's shorter. An example of something that you can watch that's shorter is an advertisement. There are advertisements in so many languages. There's advertisements in all the languages, let's be honest. We live in a consumerist world and there's ads everywhere, right? This video has an ad, please watch it. If you want to support me and help me keep making these videos, please watch the ad. But if you do not want to watch ads to learn a language, you can use movies and TV shows, which are of course longer. So what do you have to do? You cut them up to the smallest of formats, which would be a scene. You watch scenes. Watching a single scene is way more beneficial than watching just like 30 minutes of a movie or a whole episode of something, because when you watch 30 minutes, you end up forgetting what you just heard and what you just saw. So instead, when you watch one single scene at a time and you go back and analyze it, you're able to retain and to remember what you just saw. A great tool to learn this way is actually Lingopie, which is a platform to learn a variety of languages. With Autopause, you will be able to analyze every single scene in detail, since the video will stop after every subtitle. Maximizing that way your learning with tools such as the double interactive subtitles that allow you to translate words that you don't know, or Say It, which will put to the test your pronunciation. You could also search for the recommended words that appear at the beginning of each episode, which will put to the test your comprehension level, and you can also adjust the playback speed so that you can adapt it to your level. Another great advantage of Lingopie is that it actually saves you time. With tools such as the automatic flashcard creator, you will save time by simply clicking the word on the subtitles as you're watching the show. Lingopie will save that word in a flashcard that you will be able to review later on. Plus, if you have Netflix, now you can watch some of Netflix's top shows and use some of the best Lingopie tools in order to learn with those shows. Lingopie is one of the best tools to learn languages with shows and movies, so if you're curious, go check out the link in my description, which has a very enticing discount. Thanks Lingopie for sponsoring this video. Something you can do is watch the scene, okay, from beginning to end, and then ask yourself this question. What is happening in the scene? Try to describe what's happening in the scene. From what you've seen, even if you could not understand what they said in the scene, maybe you can pull out some information from the visual cues. So try to explain or try to discuss, if you have a partner, a conversation partner, a teacher, try to explain, try to discuss whatever was happening in that scene. If you do not have a partner or if you don't have a teacher, you can do it on your own. Just sit down and think to yourself, okay, what happened in this scene? And try to explain that. Try to remember the key vocabulary that you heard in this scene. As you watch the scene, write down what you think is the key vocabulary and then translate it in order to understand and see if you can explain it with that vocabulary. You can write down that vocabulary and create flashcards in order to review the words in the future. However, if you do not remember the words in the future, because you forget them, sometimes that happens, it's totally okay, you know? Like, haven't I made up thousands of words because I forgot the actual word, or I tried to explain and go around it because I didn't know the word? When I was learning Korean, for example, I was trying to explain this scene to my conversation partner, and I just couldn't for the life of me remember the word president. The president of a country, you know? Presidente. How do you say that in Korean? And I couldn't for the life of me remember it. So you know what I said? The 나라 사장님. It doesn't translate to president. It translates to the CEO of the country. My partner understood me. She had a very good laugh. I had a very good laugh, and it was very fun. So even if you do not remember these words in order to explain what you just saw, don't worry. It's actually funnier, you know? It makes it more entertaining. So just express yourself. Don't be shy and don't be afraid to make mistakes, because mistakes are actually something that makes us learn. Do I even know how to say president in Korean now? I don't think I do. Fuck, I forgot. President. It's not 나라 사장님. 뭐예요? 와, 진짜 까먹었어. Anyways, yeah. I hope you found this useful. Bye.